Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
It's that time of year again. Short days, cold mornings spent de-icing the car. It feels like we've had about 3 minutes of autumn and now winter has come in full force. I had to spend 15 minutes clearing snow and ice on my windshield before I could head to work today. I do like winter in the run up to Christmas, but it does come with extra admin and a lot more layers. However, I do recognise that I'm fortunate because admin is the only thing I have to worry about in winter. For the 500,000 people in the UK, probably closer to 1 million with many undiagnosed living with dementia, this winter, it's a lot more complicated than that. Winter and dementia are not something people commonly hear linked in terms of risk, but there's a very real link between the cold weather and worsening of symptoms. So I want to use my blog today to try and raise a bit of awareness about this. Increased knowledge will always lead to a better standard of care. The medical professionals likely know what to do, and not what to do for people with dementia in winter. So what I'm hoping to do is send this out to those of us who are not in a medical care setting. Hopefully it can ease the difficulties of people living with such a cruel condition in the coldest of months. So what's the risk? Well, the most obvious risk is the fact that it's icy in winter. This is a risk for anyone who is old. If someone in their 20s slips and falls on ice, they're probably going to be okay. If someone old does it, it can be a lot more disastrous. Extrapolate that to an old person with dementia, and the risk goes up even more, because as dementia advances, the person can become less able to coordinate their movements. They're unsteady on the feet and prone to falling. My grandfather had multiple falls simply getting out of his chair as things progressed. Furthermore, that instinct to catch ourselves and find a way to cushion the fall diminishes. If a patient with dementia slips on an icy surface, the likelihood of a serious injury is through the roof. That consequently leads to another factor that can make things worse for the patient. To avoid nasty falls, people with dementia are commonly kept inside for longer periods in winter to keep them safe from questionable surfaces. So while this certainly does protect them from falls, it can lead to isolation and depression. We've all heard of seasonal depression. As long nights draw in, the sunshine fades, we start to struggle to get our required vitamin D, and a feeling of gloominess can take over. This is especially true when the excitement of the festive period has died out and we're now longing for spring. This hits people they're living with dementia extra hard. They can find themselves feeling lonely and lacking social interaction. Depression can set in, and they can miss out on social opportunities for their mental engagement. After the lockdowns, we had a record level of dementia diagnosis, and while we can probably explain this partly by the lack of regular medical appointments, there's no question that the persistent isolation and lockdown contributed significantly. The same phenomenon can happen during winter. The brain needs stimulation, it needs interaction, especially when it's battling the onslaught of dementia. On top of that, as the days get shorter and shorter, people with dementia can find it hard to distinguish between day and night. My grandfather would look out at 4:30, see that it was dark, and think it was the middle of the night. He would sleep much worse during the winter months. He'd wake frequently, and this worried us a lot. Dementia can progress at an accelerated rate in someone who is sleep deprived. You're also more likely to develop dementia if you have a history of bad sleep. Some of those repair mechanisms that our brain uses to protect against the buildup of dementia-causing proteins do most of their work as we sleep. A good night's sleep is incredibly important for brain health. In people living with dementia, this lack of sleep leads to a worsening of symptoms. You get mood swings and sundowning. This is why the person becomes more confused and agitated as daylight fades. Moreover, they become more susceptible to falls and immunogenic pathogens. Winter's not a good time for someone with dementia. So what's the solution? Well, it's simple. It's human. Individuals with dementia need to see people, especially in winter. Those who care for people with dementia in various medical and social facilities across the country do a wonderful job. My grandfather was encouraged to paint, interact with residents, and go to things like the Christmas dinner. But there's only so much that the care system can do. The person also needs to see their friends and their family. My grandfather particularly loved seeing my dog. I would get there and I'd find him difficult to comprehend and speak to. Then he would simply stroke my dog, and he would give me a full account of all the dogs he showed and all the ones he judged. It would reignite his passion for flat-coat retrievers and border terriers. I would leave, and he was a different person to when I arrived. I guess what I'm trying to say is winter is a challenging time for people with dementia, and the people who care for them. If we understand the challenges and what they need, maybe we can make their environment better for them. Invite them for Christmas, go and see them a bit more, bring a dog, anything that can make things brighter in these dark winter months.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.